What are a few of the smartest crimes that criminals will do? Let's find out, starting with number 6, the Too Tall Bandit. For over a decade, law enforcement agencies across multiple states were in pursuit of a notorious and elusive bank robber known as the Two Tall Bandit. This tall and menacing figure successfully executed at least 16 bank heists over 14 years, leaving a trail of fear and mystery in his wake. You know why he's known as the Too Tall Bandit? It's not because he was stealing things that he thought were too tall. He was named for his towering height, estimated between 6'3" and 6'8". He's a master of disguise, often concealing his identity behind masks while wielding a firearm. His criminal spree spanned across Tennessee, North Carolina, and South Carolina, with the most recent robberies occurring in North Carolina back in 2020. The Too Tall Bandit is believed to be around 40 years old and weighing between 210 and 250 pounds. The towering robber, who walked with a noticeable limp in his right leg, would leap over teller counters, brandishing his firearm to intimidate bank employees. He made them fill his bag before making his escape. Despite numerous attempts by the FBI and local law enforcement to apprehend him, the Too Tall Bandit remains at large, evading capture with his ingenuity in escapes. The federal authorities, along with local police, have now offered a substantial $15,000 reward for any information leading to his arrest. The impressive part of this story is how this guy has evaded capture for so long. It's not like this dude isn't insanely noticeable, or the type of guy that can easily blend into a crowd. Being in the 6'5" neighborhood sets him apart from most other crooks. Even just casing a bank before he decided to rob it would be difficult for him to do and remain undetected. Number 5, the CFO. A Chick-fil-A manager in Chino Hills, California, fell victim to a phone scam, losing both cash and a bit of dignity in the process. The manager received a call from an individual claiming to be the CFO of Chick-fil-A, who explained that the franchise operator of his location owed money to the corporate office. The imposter CFO instructed the manager to collect and count cash from the restaurant's registers and safe. Subsequently, the manager was directed to drive to nearby convenience stores, purchase Green Dot prepaid debit cards using the collected cash, and read off the serial numbers to the fake executive on the phone. While the exact amount of cash spent on the debit cards remains undisclosed, reports suggest that the manager visited multiple convenience stores to get them. The franchise operator actively cooperated with authorities in the investigation into the incident. The Chick-fil-A franchise owner issued a statement acknowledging the incident and confirming their full cooperation with the local police department. Due to the ongoing investigation, further comments were withheld. Despite the unfortunate circumstances, social media reactions have been mixed. While some expressed sympathy, comparing the situation to common telephone scams, others were less forgiving. Some people even question whether the Chick-fil-A manager might have been involved in an inside job. And it's weird that the manager would believe the CFO of such a large company would need a lower-level franchise store manager to drive to convenience stores to get prepaid cards. Either the manager was brand new, way too overwhelmed, or in on it. What do you think? Tell us about it in the comments. Number 4, the teacher. Louise Handley conned numerous parents across the UK who are now claiming they were conned out of thousands of pounds. The alleged serial scam artist exploited parents' concerns for their children's education by offering online tutoring services. But instead of providing the promised educational support, Handley stands accused of orchestrating an elaborate scam that has left families out of pocket and students without the guidance they sought. Parents who trusted Handley to provide the extra tutoring for their children's academic improvement came forward with their stories. The victims alleged that Handley repeatedly canceled lessons, citing various reasons, from her teenage son being sick to claiming she had cancer. The con artist pressured parents to pay up front for tutoring sessions, only to subsequently cancel or provide minimal instruction during the sessions. Online learning has become more popular since the pandemic, providing Handley with a broader reach as she attempted to con parents not only in the UK, but also in the U.S. and Canada. Many parents, feeling abandoned by authorities, expressed frustration at the lack of action against Handley. Despite their attempts to seek justice through small claims court, they often found themselves without recourse. The allegations against Handley include claims that she gathered personal information from students during lessons, seemingly to establish a friendly rapport with parents. This tactic, coupled with her repeated cancellations and minimal teaching, made parents feel like they were being lied to. The scam artist's alleged tactics involved demanding additional payments from parents, and many felt that the cancellations and excuses were part of a larger strategy to get even more money from them. One victim, Harriet Gore from Preston, had paid Handley £435 for tutoring her teenage daughter Ella in psychology. Despite upfront money, Handley allegedly provided minimal instruction, often engaging in casual conversation rather than focused teaching. The toll of Handley's scams extends beyond financial loss, impacting students who missed out on valuable educational support. Parents are now calling for awareness about Handley's activities to prevent others from falling victim to her deceptive practices. Despite the outcry from affected parents, Handley denies the allegations. She claims to have cancer and insists that publishing information about her medical condition isn't permitted. However, Handley has failed to provide any evidence to refute the multiple allegations against her. It seems like the smarter play here would have been to just attempt to tutor and do a mediocre job of it. Instead, she's playing silly games, and now everyone's looking at her. It's almost a smart scam. Too bad no one was around to tutor her. Number 3. The unwitting intermediaries. A new scam has emerged in the UK, orchestrated by fraudsters posing as dynamic parcel delivery workers known as DPD. DPD is a UK company similar to UPS. In this brazen scheme, criminals exploit the trusted association with package deliveries, creating a complex ruse that involves intercepting goods at an innocent person's front door. The scam included fraudulent use of one person's bank details to order items to the address of another unsuspecting victim. The ingenious twist in the scammers' approach: dressed in attire bearing the DPD logo and attempted to intercept the delivered package, counting on the goodwill of the homeowner to willingly hand it over, assuming it was delivered in error. The scam was brought to light through a viral TikTok video by a user who narrated her best friend's ordeal. In the video, she described an incident where a package, seemingly delivered by DPD, arrived at her friend's home. Shortly after, another individual posing as a DPD driver claimed the package was delivered by mistake and needed to be returned. The homeowner said no, revealing that the package was addressed correctly and they would contact DPD themselves. Inside the package was an iPhone 14 with a SIM card, a device no one in the house had ordered. The TikToker talked about how the scam probably worked, explaining that the criminals used stolen bank details to order items to another person's address. By intercepting the delivery before it reaches the resident, the scammers ensure that any reported use of bank details leads authorities back to the innocent recipient, not the culprits. The sophistication of this scam lies in its exploitation of the trust associated with delivery services and the reliance on individuals to act in good faith. The criminals not only orchestrate a fraudulent transaction, but also manage to implicate an innocent party in the process. As the TikTok video gained traction, other people shared similar experiences in the comments, showing how widespread this scam was becoming. DPD, the delivery company implicated in the scam, clarified that this is a version of a known identity fraud scheme where criminals acquire personal information to purchase high-value items. The DPD drivers seem to be unwitting participants, merely doing their job and delivering packages to the correct address. And there's not much defense against it either, beyond contacting the company yourself rather than just handing off a package. Having everything delivered to your home is a nice thing, but all of these scams are starting to make us long for the days of just going to a store. What about you? Let us know in the comments if you agree. Number 2. The Focused Scammer. Australian model and single mom, Kate Husler, found herself in the middle of a catfishing scam that not only exploited her identity, but also involved her daughter. An American man named Jeffrey reached out to Husler, claiming to have fallen victim to a scam utilizing her photos. This left Husler shocked and disturbed as images of her, some not online for years, were used by an unknown catfisher in the US. The saga began with Jeffrey contacting Husler through her business website, telling her all about someone who'd been using her photos. This mysterious catfisher, attempting to establish a romantic relationship, Jeffrey, had gone as far as involving Husler's family details, including intimate knowledge of her divorce. Jeffrey only discovered the scam when he requested a video selfie, leading to a cascade of suspicious messages from the catfisher. Jeffrey admitted that he'd even given money to the scammer, but said he felt like he was being scammed at the time. Freaked out by the whole thing, Husler realized that her identity had been exploited, with the catfisher possessing personal details that indicated a deep level of stalking over the years. Jeffrey provided Husler with screenshots and voice messages from the scammer, revealing a disturbing level of awareness about her life, including private moments and images not publicly available. Husler, a model coach based in Sydney, reported the incident to the police, only to be told that nothing could be done since the scam happened out of country. To make matters worse, Jeffrey, the individual who initially alerted Husler, catfishing activity, began harassing her online as well, making things worse. The smart and elaborate nature of the scam lied in the catfisher's meticulous efforts to steal Husler's identity, going so far as to use images not available online for years, including photos of her 5-year-old daughter. The catfisher's awareness of Husler's personal life, including her divorce, showcased a disturbing level of dedication to the deceit. In response to her traumatic experience, Husler reported the scam to various authorities, including the ACCC, Crime Stoppers, and U.S. authorities. By sharing her story, Husler aimed to raise awareness about the prevalence of such scams and encourage others to exercise vigilance and caution in their online interactions. Husler's story is a good reminder that anything you put online can be stolen and used against you, and scammers will go to great lengths to gain your confidence, even digging up photos you haven't seen in years. If you're enjoying this video, be sure to stay tuned for our past release to find out how she watched herself get her money stolen from her accounts in real time. Number 1. The Opportunist. A couple trying to escape the Maui wildfires fell victim to a heartless scammer posing as a Southwest Airlines agent. Megan and Kevin Morgan, vacationing in Hawaii for their wedding anniversary with their young son, sought an early departure due to the escalating wildfires. Their attempt to change flights ended in a costly and elaborate con orchestrated by the imposter. Desperate to secure a flight change, Megan found a number on Google that she believed belonged to Southwest Airlines. But it wasn't Southwest Airlines she was calling. It was a cunning scammer. Providing their confirmation numbers, Megan was told the change would cost $200 per person. Suspecting something was wrong, Megan decided against paying the fee and hung up. But the damage was already done. To their horror, the Morgans discovered that their flights had been canceled when they checked their reservations. The scammer, armed with their confirmation numbers, had logged in and canceled their tickets, repurposing the credit to book another flight for someone else. Stranded in Maui, the Morgans faced the challenge of finding available flights as the wildfires prompted an influx of people trying to get out. Forced to stay 2 extra nights, the couple had no choice but to spend over $3,000 on new flights through Hawaiian Airlines. Expressing gratitude for their eventual safe return home, Megan talked a lot about the sophistication of the scam, saying that she had never dealt with something like it before. The incident really shows the vulnerability of individuals seeking urgent assistance online. Scammers can easily set up cloned websites and convincing details, leading unsuspecting victims to believe they're dealing with legitimate entities. The ease with which one can inadvertently click on the first available option increases the risk, making it crucial for people to exercise caution and verify the authenticity of online services, especially in critical situations. Always double check where you're calling when you get a phone number online. Life was looking good for Charlotte Morgan. She had been offered a new job and had just finished talking to a coworker about her future plans when she went to her local gym for her evening workout on Wednesday, August 24th at Virgin Active Gym in Chiswick Park, London. It wasn't until 9:30 p.m. when she finished exercising and went to the locker room to get her things that her nightmare began. She discovered that the padlock she used on her locker was gone and her backpack had been stolen. Certain that nobody would have been able to figure out the code to unlock the padlock, she was convinced that somebody must have used wire cutters. However, how could a person get away with doing something like that in the open? Charlotte was about to find out that the security systems that the gym had in place were no match for a sophisticated thief. All of Charlotte's most valuable possessions were inside of her backpack. It was where she kept her cell phone, bank card, house keys, and bike lock keys, all of which were now in the thief's possession. Without her cell phone, she had no way of calling the police or reaching out to a friend or family member for help. She rushed to the front desk, where 2 other members stood looking concerned. They entered the gym at the same time she did, and she found out that one of them had their belongings stolen too. Another odd thing that happened when they went to check in earlier that night was that the electronic entry system was down, so they had to write their names on a piece of paper instead. With the gym not being as secure as it would typically be, her fear turned to her stolen bank card. She had to jump through many hoops to get her bank account frozen. The staff at Virgin Active refused to let her use their phone or computer, claiming it went against their security policy. Eventually, a colleague came to her aid and let her use their phone. Before she could find out if there were any unauthorized charges to her account, the call handler forced her to answer a series of security questions to confirm her identity. Once her identity was approved, she was given the long list of transactions charged to her card. Between her starting her workout and calling Statlander's hotline, thousands of pounds had been spent. Suddenly, she was helplessly watching her money be spent in real time. The first transaction was just after 8 p.m. at the Apple Store in Westfield Shopping Centre, located in West London, where they spent £3,000. At around 9 p.m., they moved on to a second Apple Store on Regent Street, spending around £1,000. The last transaction was at Selfridges, where an initial £750 was charged. By the time they were able to put the hold on the account, the stores had already closed for the night. If the gym let her access her information on their computer, then she would have been able to stop the thief sooner. Santander should have noticed that the purchases being made on her card weren't normal. In fact, they were completely different from her regular spending pattern. She had never shopped at an Apple store before, let alone been to 2 other stores on the same night. Also, she would rarely spend a lot of money at once. She knew that there were supposed to be protections in place to stop this from happening. Shocked, she asked why the bank didn't try to stop these transactions. It turned out that texts querying the purchases were sent to her stolen phone. If she had her phone, then she would have immediately been able to stop this from happening. Instead, because the fraudster had her phone, it was easy for him to approve every single transaction and continue their shopping spree. All the while, Charlotte was left frantically trying to figure out what to do. Hoping that she reached the bank in time to stop anything else from being charged to her account, she was horrified when the call handler informed her that there was an additional pending charge of £3,000 to her account. She was watching herself getting scammed in real time. The criminal spent more money on their shopping spree than Charlotte had in her entire account. Already upset that the text checking for fraudulent payments went to her stolen phone, she didn't understand why her account didn't overdraw. It should have never been possible for so much damage to be done to her account. The Santander call handler told her that money was transferred from her savings account in increments of £2,500. Her life savings were in that savings account and could have helped her stay afloat while she waited for the rest of the charges that night to be reimbursed. Not only did someone have her bank card, but they also managed to access her entire account at Santander. Left in shock, Charlotte found herself stranded at the gym that night. Keys to unlock her bike were gone, her house keys were stolen, and she couldn't call for an Uber or reach out to her landlord without her phone. It wasn't possible to get a hotel without any money, so Charlotte resorted to spending the night at her office where she was a TV producer. She sat at her desk all night as she researched what had happened to her and tried to figure out how she would get her money and possessions back. In the morning, she contacted her landlord and he gave her a new key to her house. Then began the excruciating wait for answers. Police told her when she filed her initial report that they would get back to her in a few weeks once they reviewed the security footage, and Santander said they would investigate the case too. Unfortunately, a few days after the initial incident happened, there was a long weekend that delayed the answers she desperately needed. The anticipation was so grueling that she could barely eat or sleep. Virgin Active UK refused to take responsibility for what happened, stating that they never take fault for theft. They claimed that the turnstiles were in the middle of a quick reboot when Charlotte checked in that night, which was the reason why a member of the staff was writing down people's names as they entered. Members of Virgin Active Gym in Chiswick Park were also never told about the theft, even though another woman had her things stolen that night too. But turning off the turnstiles and just writing names is still breaking protocol for security anyways. Santander took it a step further and even blamed Charlotte for the situation. She was accused of either writing the PIN number on her bank card or writing it out on a piece of paper that she kept in her bag. They went as far as saying that she must have shared the number with colleagues, friends, or a family member before they told her that she wouldn't be reimbursed for the transactions charged to her account. There was no proof that her negligence caused what happened, but the fact that her PIN was used meant that Santander refused to accept the blame. She took to Twitter to share her story. She detailed the entire ordeal in a series of tweets, from the card entry system not working that night to Virgin and Santander refusing to accept fault. Tens of thousands of people shared the tweets, and she received a flood of responses. Local firemen offered to free her still locked bike, and a nearby restaurant offered her a gift card for a free dinner. A member of Virgin Active in Chiswick Park wrote a reply where she questioned if it was safe for her to keep going there. People also sent her links to places where she could report Santander and Virgin Active UK for mishandling the entire situation. A bank security expert confirmed that the most likely thing that happened was that the thief took the SIM card out of her phone. Charlotte had so many unanswered questions. How did the thief know getting into the gym was going to be so easy? How could they have hacked her padlock? How were they then able to bypass her phone's facial recognition and passcode to gain access to her phone? How did they figure out her bank card's PIN code? How were they able to change her bank details so easily? Our question is, were they a member of the gym and just decided to do the crime since they could get in easily? Santander insisted that Charlotte was at fault and that her money was lost due to her own negligence, but a Twitter user helped Charlotte piece together one likely explanation. All the thief needed to change her bank security passwords and PIN was her bank card and the SIM card from her phone. Once they had that, they just needed to move the SIM card from Charlotte's phone into their own, where it would then bypass needing the thumbprint security or facial recognition that it would need on Charlotte's phone. However, Santander claimed that it would depend on how a user logged into the app on their phone and that they wouldn't be able to get into it without a passcode or using biometrics to obtain the PIN. They also clarified that the in-app PIN resets are common for UK banking apps and not a feature unique to Santander. A few days after Charlotte's tweets, Santander had a change of heart. The bank called her and agreed to reimburse her for the fraudulent charges. They gave Charlotte a long apology and admitted that they handled the situation poorly and were ultimately at fault. If her story didn't go viral, would Santander have given the money back? Or were they doing it just because they basically were guilt-tripped into it? Following Santander's lead, Virgin Active UK also acknowledged their role in the incident. They admitted to Twitter user @VivaJinsu that their security machine was broken when she entered and that the staff didn't even bother checking people's memberships before letting them through. Virgin Active UK also claimed that they would do whatever it takes to win back Charlotte's trust, but it might be too late. Charlotte confessed to losing all of her trust in banks and gyms. Now, she always locks her SIM card with a PIN number and separates her bank card from her phone. She was still paying off her phone when it was stolen and, as expected, she's still being held responsible for the rest of the payments, as she didn't have any phone insurance. Unfortunately for Charlotte, she still has 20 monthly payments left beginning in October of 2022. These types of simple gym thefts have apparently been becoming more common in locker rooms in London. Many people have already contacted Charlotte to say they had a similar experience after her story went viral. Charlotte's now actively advocating for change and wants to see police, gyms, and banks working together to stop anyone else from going through the same experience as her. Click to watch one of these next videos. Let us know in the comment section who you'd vote off the island, Cardi B or Kim Kardashian.